During Zhu Yuanzhang's period of reign, he tried his best to ensure the longevity of Ming Dynasty. He bestowed the title of vassal to his 24 sons and a grandson, and assigned them to protect important cities all over the country. Zhu Yuanzhang's intention was for the vassals to help maintain the rule of Ming Dynasty, but his plan backfired. The strength of the vassals became greater and greater, threatening the central imperial power. After Zhu Yuanzhang's death, his grandson Zhu Yunwen ascended the throne, becoming Emperor Jianwen. Emperor Jianwen was the second son of Crown Prince Zhu Biao. At the beginning of Ming Dynasty, Zhu Yuanzhang made his eldest son Zhu Biao the crown prince. In his view, the reason why there were a lot of palace coups in Yuan Dynasty was because the crown prince was not bestowed early enough, so he didn't want to follow the same road to ruin. Unfortunately, Zhu Biao died at the age of 37. When choosing the new crown prince, Zhu Yuanzhang didn't consider his numerous sons. Instead, he picked the second son of Zhu Biao, Zhu Yunwen, as Zhu Biao's eldest son had died at a very young age. At that time, Zhu Yunwen was only 15. He was honest and mild, respected his elders, and won the heart of his grandfather Zhu Yuanzhang. But compared with his uncles, Zhu Yunwen was obviously too inexperienced to be the next emperor. But Zhu Yuanzhang didn't care about it. He persisted in making his grandson the crown prince. Many vassals were dissatisfied by this action, especially Zhu Di, who was eligible to inherit the throne. At the beginning of Ming Dynasty, when Zhu Yuanzhang first chose the crown prince, he had considered Zhu Di as an ideal candidate. Zhu Di was smart and brave, a much better candidate than his elder brother Zhu Biao. He was not bestowed the title only because he was not the eldest son. As ambitious as he was, Zhu Di was unwilling to accept such an unfair treatment, so he made up his mind to strive for the throne instead of waiting for it passively. Not long after Zhu Yunwen became the emperor, the conflict between him and the vassals became clear. At that time, assisted by his aides Qi Tai and Huang Zicheng, Emperor Jianwen declared war against the vassals. Some of the weaker vassals were the first victims. Their power was deprived. Among them, Vassal Xiang was the most miserable. He was forced to burn himself to death. Emperor Jianwen adopted a strategy of dealing with the weaker first and then the stronger. So as time went by and more vassals were deprived of their power, Zhu Di, as the strongest among the vassals, became more and more precarious. Zhu Di was the fourth son of Zhu Yuanzhang. He was born when Zhu Yuanzhang was busy fighting other rebel armies. He even had no time to give his son a name. Zhu Di did not get his name until he was 7 years old. At his early age, Zhu Di suffered a lot from the war. He was sent to his hometown for a while, so he was well aware of the sufferings of the people. Zhu Di was smart and brave since he was a little boy. He was bestowed the title of Vassal Yan at the age of 11, and led an army to be stationed in Beijing when he was 21. When stationed in Beijing, he defeated several invasions by Mongol tribes, and his strength grew rapidly, finally becoming the strongest vassal. In order to weaken Zhu Di, Emperor Jianwen sent an official to spy on him, trying to arrest him at any time. Zhu Di didn't want to be caught and killed the official spying on him. Then he rebelled and led his army towards the south, soon defeating Emperor Jianwen's army and conquering several places. In the following 2 years, Zhu Di's army won continuous victories and was determined to conquer Ming's capital, Nanjing. Emperor Jianwen was so anxious that he sent Zhu Di's cousin, Princess Qinyang, to negotiate for peace. The princess tried to persuade Zhu Di to withdraw his army, but as determined as Zhu Di was, how could he change his mind at the last minute? The princess went back disappointedly. A month later, Zhu Di conquered Nanjing. When the city was broken through, a big fire broke out at the royal palace. Emperor Jianwen had supposedly burned himself to death. But what Zhu Di found was a charred corpse beyond recognition. No one could tell if the corpse was the emperor himself. There is another saying that the emperor had fled the palace and become a monk. In order to find out whether Emperor Jianwen had died or not, Zhu Di sent an official to many places to find clues to his whereabouts. It was said that Zheng He's maritime expeditions were also meant to find out news about Emperor Jianwen. There was no record in history books as to the results of these investigations. After conquering Nanjing, Zhu Di took the place of Emperor Jianwen and became the third emperor of Ming Dynasty.